Seventh grade, we are in chapter 16 of the book of Numbers today. You're going to see that Israel rebelled against God, and when you do that, you get worse and worse. There is something in your heart that once you cross that line, you'll cross it again and again and again. It's easier and easier and easier to despise God. So as these people are forced to go away from the border, remember they were defeated by their enemies, they were forced to go back. They have to be subject to Moses. They're not quite sure. They're grouchy and gripey and complainy and hard to move and exasperating, I'm sure. And you're going to see that it's just going to build and build and build until in chapter 16 we're going to get a mutiny, a complete mutiny. And it centers around a Levite named Korah, who challenges Aaron as being high priest. He is thinking he would be a better politician and that maybe he should get some guys around him and he gets some buddies. And then they decide to essentially challenge as though it was a democracy or somehow a bullyocracy. Whoever could be the biggest bully is the one that's going to get power. And it doesn't work that way in God's economy. God doesn't pick the ones that are naturally the slickest or even the smartest or the one that talks the best or the ones that are necessarily people would want to follow. God blesses, God chooses and then blesses. And then as people are submitting to God, they'll submit to his leaders. They'll also realize that there's no man that's capable of living a Christian life perfectly other than Christ. And there's no leader of God's people that are truly qualified to do it. God has to help you live your life. God has to help you to do the duty that he's commanded you to do. He didn't choose the ones that were competent and capable. And Korah is basically trying to grab some power. And it's not going to end well with Korah, I promise. Okay, so by the way, chapter 15 was all law. That's why we skipped it. You read that at home in the evening. So we're moving on and just doing the parts of the book of Numbers that are plot. Okay? All right, so we're in chapter 16 today. Now Korah, the son of Isar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peliah, the sons of Reuben. Okay, so we have two Reubenites, two from the tribe of Reuben, and then we have a Kohathite named Korah. Okay, so he's one of the priests. Remember, his job is to carry the tabernacle furniture. They rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly. Okay, so these are politically strong men. Okay, 250. These are leaders of families, maybe not leaders of full tribes, but leaders of families. These are connected people, famous in the congregation, men of renown. So these are big guys, movers and shakers. They gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron and said to them, "You take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, that the Lord is among them. Wherefore then you lift yourself up above the congregation of the Lord." You take too much on you. You're assuming too much power over us. You're telling us what to do. And I think we're all holy here. So I think all of us are able to decide what we're going to do. That we should have a democracy here. Okay. You have to realize that Moses is not the king. Moses is not acting as a king. Moses doesn't claim to be a king. Aaron doesn't claim to have power other than that he is doing what God has commanded him to do. So this is a theocracy, something completely unknown before or since, really. God is king here. And Moses and Aaron are just the mouthpieces. Aaron is acting as the high priest, as an intercessor, and Moses as the one that God is speaking to. And so it's a completely different idea. Of course, it looks like that Moses is the political strongman. That's what it looks like. And so Korah is contesting him. Okay. Interesting that that God has called Moses to lead these people, and they're always a griping and always a complaining people. They're not what you would consider to be holy people. God's people are not ready to go to heaven yet. They are called out of Egypt, but they hold on to a lot of their wickedness. Um, we sin every day against God, who loves us and who died for us. We sin every day. Some of our sin is unknown. We sin because we're ignorant. Some of it is just a habit. We have held on to habits. And what we're doing is we're despising God. We're making him lower in our estimation. He's not who he needs to be. He's not as exalted as he actually is. We somehow think that he's less, okay? That he somehow is our helper rather than God, who we belong to. And it's something that we reteach ourselves over and over and over again. We remind each other, continuously reminding each other to follow God, that God is the exalted King and that we are not, that we depose ourselves moment by moment all of our lives. Every time that I see myself on the throne, I tell myself to get off. That's just the way it works. But some of these people will get so wicked that they will essentially say, "Oh yeah, God, really? You have the right to rule me? I don't think so." Okay, and then God has to show up. So we'll see. Verse 4. Immediately Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and spake unto Korah and all of his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show you who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to draw near to him, and even who he hath chosen he will cause to come near unto him. So God gets to pick who he is chosen to be leader. Don't worry about you thinking that this is a political game. I'm not a political strongman. God has picked, and God is the one who gets to decide who the leader is. If you realize that this chapter really is the chapter that describes mankind, this is the chapter. God has picked Jesus to be king. God has picked Jesus to be leader. And most of the world, in most of time, most everybody that's ever lived has rejected this. Does not want Jesus to be king over them, would rather have someone else, or rather have themselves, have no one else, so that they could be king. Okay, and the idea of priest, that the one representing the people to God and representing God to the people, they would rather be priest. No, God gets to pick. And God will insist that there is only one plan. There is only one rescue of men. There is only one salvation. And it has nothing to do with your works. It has nothing to do with your ridiculous religion. It has to do with you trusting his king, his priest, that he is instituted among men. And you must come on his terms. You can't say, I'll serve Jesus, but I'll decide how I'll do it. No, there is no serving Jesus. Jesus will not be had by someone who is his boss, who will tell him what to do. It's not going to happen. Jesus is the Son of God. He is God himself. And it will not happen that we get to tell God what to do. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen here, and it's not going to happen now. So take you censers, Korah and his company, and put fire in them, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man to whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy. Remember, holy is the idea of set apart. God picks. God picks him for his side. Okay? You take too much upon you, you sons of Levi. You think that you have more power and ability than you do. You do not. Moses said to Korah, Hear I pray you, you sons of Levi, seemeth but a small thing to you, that the God of Israel hath separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do servants of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister? Do you not know, Levites, what a huge task that you have? God has given you one of the greatest things. He replaced those that he had spared, the firstborn, remember, that he had spared from death. he replaced with the Levites. Again, there's another picture of Christ. Christ replaces, Christ's work as priest replaces those of us who've been rescued from death. It's not you who please God. You please God through the work of your priest. God has chosen Christ to represent his people. It is not his people that truly serve him. I simply trust the Lord. I trust Christ. And as I trust Christ, I'm connected to this people of God that God has chosen out. In fact, it's just a mark, basically. Those who choose Christ, those are the ones who belong to God. Those are God's. And nobody would want to choose Christ anyway. But those who do, those who cling to him, those who are begging him to represent them, those are God's people. Okay, so he's saying, do you not realize you've replaced all of the firstborn? You minister in God's tabernacle. You are priests unto God. Do you not know what a huge thing that is? You want more? You want to be king? Are you serious? Okay, and he says, and he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren the sons of Levi, and seek you the priesthood also. Okay, you also want to be the high priest because somehow you think it's a better gig that, I don't know what you expect to get from it. Okay, so you have everything, but you want more. What you want? What, power or esteem or prestige, or what is it that you're looking for? Okay, be careful. This is not where you look for it. 11. And for which cause both you and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord. Interesting. Moses is clear. Now, he does this by immediately falling on his face before the Lord. He is strong now. He knows what he's supposed to say. You are not despising me. You are not threatening me. You are threatening the Lord. And that is a dangerous place to be, that you are together against the Lord. You have formed a conspiracy against God himself. Okay, who do you think is going to win this game? Moses is basically just telling him. And what is Aaron that you murmur against him? Oh, you want to be high priest too? Is that what you want? You guys want to be who? You Reubenites want to be Moses now? And you, Korah, want to be Aaron? And then you can be the political strong team? So what you are you the mafia? So essentially that's what they're doing. It's political, it's strong man tactics. Okay? It's a threat. It's a mutiny. It's a rebellion. This is what it is. In fact, throughout the Old Testament, it's called Korah's rebellion. Okay. For which you caused both of you and to murmur against him. That was 11. 12. And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, which said, we will not come up. Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up from the land that flows with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness, except that thou thyself altogether a prince over us? So they're still threatening Moses. You've become a prince. You've taken us from Egypt, which we were all so happy there, and you've taken us there, and now you've taken us all the way up to Israel, or to the borders of the promised land, but you won't let us go up, but you want to be our prince. You want to be our king, essentially, is what he's saying. You want to be head of state. Moreover, can you just imagine just how fatiguing this is to Moses? He just has one problem after other, after other, after other. He's doing as he needs to do, and all it is just a misery. People are making his job a misery. Moreover, thou hast not brought us to the land that flows with milk and honey, and given us the inheritance of fields and vineyards, and thou hast put out the eyes of these men, we will not come up. Moses was very wroth, and he said to the Lord, respect not their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. And Moses said to Korah, and be thou and thy company before the Lord, thou and they and Aaron tomorrow. So there's going to be a contest. We'll see who God picks. Okay, there will be an ultimate contest in this world as well. the people who decide that Allah is God, or that there is no God, or that Buddha is God, or whatever their choices are, or that I myself are God, or that I create my own gods. Okay, you can imagine America in the 21st century, of just how crazy, and even pseudo Christianity, just so crazy. Everything is just so kind of twisted and warped. Okay, everybody changing things to their own agenda so that they get to do as they please and that God gets to bless them at the same time. It doesn't work that way. There will be one day that the contest will be, who does God accept? And it will be seen that God accepts Jesus only. Jesus is the one that's accepted. And every knee will bow before Jesus Christ. Every knee will bow. Jesus is the winner. God picks him. Now, he's told everyone that God picks him. That's what the gospel is. The gospel is going out, saying God picks Christ. Turn to Christ. Most of the world will not. Most human hearts that even hear the gospel will not turn to Christ. It will not. Thinks it's absurd. Okay? They will go about their life as they please, until their life ends. That's just the way it will work. But one day there will be a contest, and Jesus is the one that will come across to everyone as being God's chosen. That's in fact what Messiah means. It's his anointed, the one he picked. That's what Messiah means. That's what Christ means. Okay. Lord spake to Moses, saying, separate yourself from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. All right. So here comes the renegades. They're on one side, and they've got spoons. They've got the gold spoons. Remember these gold spoons that have incense in them? They each have those, and they're standing on one side, and Aaron and Moses are on the other side. And God said, separate yourself from these people. Stand away from them, because I am going to toast them right now. Okay? And they fell upon their faces and said, O God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with the whole congregation? And the Lord spake unto Moses, speak you unto the congregation, saying, get you up about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram. The elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest you be consumed in their sins. Okay? So here are some people who've set themselves up against the Lord's anointed, against the Lord's pick, against the Lord's priest. Okay? Don't have anything to do with them. You separate yourself. Remember what the word church means. Church means separated out of, called out of. You come away from them. The city you were born into is the city of destruction, and God will destroy it. And he has told you, maybe you are hearing, maybe you're not. He has told you that you are to run, that you are to escape. You are to come away from the tents of these wicked men, lest you be consumed with them. You run away. You go towards God's side, that there is a line in the sand, and you go across that line away from the people who are standing up against God here. Okay? So they got up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side, and Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives and their sons and their little ones. Poor wicked men, forcing their families to stand with them. Okay? And they're about to be destroyed. Moses said, hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own mind. Moses is saying, I'm not your king. I didn't pick at this. I didn't choose to be your power player. God is the one doing this, and he has asked me to serve in this way, and I'm simply serving him. You will know this in 2 minutes. Okay? If these men die a common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord has not sent me. If these men die, they're about to die. And if these men die the way you've all seen men die, then I have not been sent by God. You can all abandon me. But if these men die in a way you've never seen before, then you know that God has chosen me. This is a contest that every one of you can watch. It's going to happen in front of your faces. Okay? Verse 30. But if the Lord make a new thing, And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up with all that are appertaining to them, and they go down quick into the pit. Then you shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. He said, never in your life have you ever seen this, but you're going to see it in a minute. The entire ground is going to open, and they are going to fall into a bottomless pit. All of them, their tents and all their stuff and all of their suitcases and all of their goats and all of their children and everybody, they're all going to fall straight into the open ground. Okay? If that happens, do you think it's going to happen, anybody? Do you think it's going to happen? Nobody thinks it's going to happen. Okay? They're like, oh, this is going to be a good show. Okay? Because if either Moses is going to have to step down or we're going to see something we've never seen before. And it came to pass that as he made an end of speaking these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up and their houses and all the men that appertained unto Korah and all their goods. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit. And the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. Okay? They were thrown alive into hell. The ground opened up, and they just were swallowed in an instant. Okay? It wasn't like an earthquake, because we're talking about the people standing over here were separated from the people standing over here. And the people who crossed over the line, nothing hurt them, but the ground opened up under the ones who were rebelling. Okay, the ones who were claiming to want to be the new king. Okay. 34. And all of Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, lest the Lord swallow us up also. Interesting. That's interesting. Finally, some fear is falling upon the people. They're realizing that God is not their little valet, that God is the one that is king, and that you follow God, and God gets to choose. God gets to pick what's right and wrong. God gets to pick what's good and bad. God gets to choose. You do not get to pick. You don't pick. You do not choose what you please and then say God will bless that. No, God, whatever God has said, that is what is right. That is what is acceptable and nothing else. Okay? And the priest that God has picked is the only priest that's available. There is nothing else. There's no plan B. Okay? God chooses. And that's something that every generation has to learn, and every person has to learn. The people who belong to God will learn that during their lifetime. The people who never belong to God will learn it at the end of their life. They will learn it, but they will learn it. It'll be too late for them, though. 36. Moses spake unto Aaron, saying, speak unto Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning, and scatter you the fire yonder, for they are hallowed. Remember, the censers are these little incense burners that the priests were holding. They had been hallowed before. They belonged to the tabernacle. Go pick them up out of the burning. Okay, so you're talking about just a conflagration, and the earth opened up, and the only thing that was left was these glowing hot censers that still had the incense in it. Go pick those up, because they're holy. And the censers of these sinners against their own souls, lest thou make them broad plates for a covering of the altar, for they've offered before the Lord, therefore they are hallowed, and they shall be a sign in the children of Israel. Okay? The only thing that God accepted is that censer that was left over. And Eleazar took the brazen censers which the burnt had offering, and they had made broad plates for the covering of the altar, to be a memorial unto the children of Israel, that no stranger which not seen of the land come near to offer incense before the Lord, that he be not like Korah and his company, as the Lord said by the hand of Moses. But on the morrow all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against the Lord and Aaron, saying, you have killed the people of the Lord. So they're still griping. You killed these godly men. As though Moses had done it. Moses had opened up the earth and sucked them all into the earth. It's absolutely unbelievable. These gripers will gripe. Gripers gripe. That's why they're called gripers. Moses and Aaron came to the tabernacle congregation, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, get you up from among these people, that I may consume them in a moment. and they fell upon their faces. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a censer, and put there fire from the altar, and put on incense, and quickly into the congregation, and make atonement for them, for there is wrath gone out from the Lord, a plague has begun. Okay? Oh my goodness. A plague has started. The ones who had aligned themselves with these men that had been killed, they're being killed. There's a plague among the people. And Moses said, quickly, go up and make atonement. Go up and put incense on the altar. And this is interesting. So Aaron took Moses' command and ran in the midst of the congregation, began, the plague was among the people, and he put on incense and made atonement for the people. And here's 48. What a verse. What a verse. Okay? This verse is emblazoned on the walls of heaven. 1648, and he stood between the living and the dead, and the plague was stayed. That's the work of Jesus Christ. That's Jesus Christ. He stood between the living and the dead, and the plague was stayed. And they that died in the plague were 14,700, besides them that had died in the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moses to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed. I love you all.